But let's transition to the end of our time together. We are so grateful to have spent this time with you and guided you through the world of the Marrow Thieves and supported you to gather your go bags together. And I'm so just happy that you all are, that I'm just happy. That's it. I'm just happy.
You nerded out with us. Thank you so much.
Yeah, totally.
Thank you.
And we just wanted to put this quote up there to, again, just kind of wrap it back towards Indigenous speculative fiction and why it's important. And I think this is a great quote to end on. And it's from Rebecca Roanhorse, who wrote Trail of Lightning and Storm of Locusts that are up here. And she says, Native people are rising from the apocalypse, folding the past into our present and writing a future that is decidedly Indigenous. And Rebecca Roanhorse wrote this specifically about Indigenous people who have suffered, as Christian said, we talked a lot about the kind of like horrors of history over the last few days. But to be able to fold that into our past and write a future that's hopeful, that, just like the conversation we just had about seeds, there's so much potential in each of us. There's so much potential in your students, in the folks that you work with outside of this space. And she wrote it for Indigenous people, but there's so many ways that we can think about how we can apply this beyond to different identities as well. So I think that is something, a powerful thing that I get a lot out of from reading books like The Marrow Thieves.
Can I just say something about this beautiful photograph? Like, this is not like just from the internets.
No.
This is a photograph that was taken. We were at the Ocon, and this was the night before the last day of the Ocon when they take down the lodge, and we were just feeling the amazingness of our most sacred and spiritual gathering. Elizabeth and I are not ceremonialists, but we had the gift of being able to attend. And so we were driving back to the place we were staying. We weren't staying in the encampment. And one of our colleagues sent this photograph of right where we were. And the Aurora Borealis on the last night of the Ocon was glowing so beautifully. And I was telling Elizabeth, we missed it. And Elizabeth was like, no, Mom, we didn't see it when we were in it, but it was there. It was happening. And so this is such a beautiful image for us to remember, because the Ocon, which is highlighted in Fool's Crow, is our renewal. And it happens every year. It's our renewal, that we can start again and recreate the conditions that we live in. And so
and bringing it back to the Coming To stories, it's an opportunity to say, you know what, I started the year and this is what I was really struggling with, and I'm going to leave it. I'm going to leave these parts behind. I'm going to gather my strength to try a different way. And that's part of these Coming To stories, this ability to grow, right? And I feel like that's such a powerful thing to share with students. And now I'm going to read, right?
Yeah. So, and the other part of this too is we don't know what we're supposed to get, right? Always. We don't always know, but it's there for us. Mm-hmm. And so again, in gratitude as we wrap up, just to thank you for being here. And there's a reason that we're here together. And there's a reason that you came to this workshop. And even if it was just because Tanya, our beautiful friend and, colleague and mentor, invited us or demanded us.
Oh. Voluntold us.
Voluntold. But we were supposed to be here. So whatever it is that you are to take with you today, I give gratitude to all of you for that.
So we'll take you all the way back to the beginning of the day when we read about Minerva and the jingles that she had kept the jingles for jingle dresses for the future that she had been carrying with her in her go bag, and how important they were to her in bringing that transitioning from the past, that present, and this hopefulness for the future. So we're just going to end with this example of the jingles.
Did you want me to say something about the jingle dress? Or did you want to?
Yeah, this is your scene. I'm just reading.
Well, so we were kind of talking about familiarity with the jingle dress, and so there's some questions about young children's literature. This is a great book called Jingle Dancer by Cynthia Leidick Smith, and she's one of my favorite authors. And this basically is a great story that goes through the process of this young girl who's wants to be a jingle dress dancer. So she talks. So her grandma was a jingle dress dancer, and so a jingle dress is a really special dress. It's a dance that's offered in prayer, and so there's a lot of powwows where a lot of people who dance jingle dress will not dance during competition powwows because it shouldn't have anything to do with money. It's a prayer. And in this special dance, the regalia has 365 jingles on it, and they're made generally. The old days they were, and people I think still do use chewing tobacco tins and roll them. Like you can go to Shipwreck Beads or other places and you can get the jingles now, but that's how they were done. So as we talked about Minerva, like cutting out cans and holding that in her go bag. So this story talks about this girl who wants to be a jingle dress dancer, and she talks to her grandma. And her grandma, now this is a little older because she's using VHS tapes to watch her grandma dance and other dancers. And so she needs to gather the jingles. So she goes to her aunties, and she goes to her mom, and she goes to her cousin who's a lawyer, and she, goes to all these beautiful women in her family, and she gets her regalia, and everyone is supporting her, and every little bit of her jingle dress is coming together, and they're sewing it together. And then she's able to dance her first dance. And all the women who love and support her are there in support of her doing the jingle dress dance. And this is really lovely. So, and again, this has an author's note that talks specifically about the jingle dress. And as we have learned, it really comes from the Ojibwe people. And so I won't say any more to this other than it's more than a dress, right, or regalia. It is a way of being. And so we started with Minerva. And before you start that, I want to say one thing about Minerva and coming to. I think this is Minerva's next coming to story.
Ooh. Do you want to say more?
Can I do a little, because if I say what I'm saying, then.
No, don't.
Okay.
I wasn't catching what she was throwing down, but then I did, and that's a no. That's a huge spoiler.
I know, but you said to say it. Okay, I won't say anything. Just know that Minerva's amazing, and that the last few pages of the second book might be Minerva's, now you have to read it, right? Minerva's last, or maybe not last, coming to story.
We're going to do it the native way, and we're going to end inconclusively. You're going to draw your own conclusions, okay? Rose slunk forward, pulled the bundle from her pocket, and unwrapped the cloth. Minerva's jingles, the ones she'd carefully crafted from tin cans and discarded lids. Let us skip that section. Minerva, who had known that one day there would be someone in a dress that made a sound like nothing else in the world. Minerva, who had known that one day the people would be loud again. Rose rewrapped the handful of jingles, already dangerous with potential, and tucked them in beside Ishkode, who's a baby. a new baby in the camp. They were hers now, and one day Rose would help her make the dress that would hold them. This child would make noise like shattered glass being put back together, and they needed it because a new cacophony was breaking in. It was just up ahead. Rose could feel it, cresting the audible edge of tomorrow. It was coming on dark wings, making short work of time and distance. And this would be the way they resisted. This would be the reclamation. This was the girl who would be loud. Ishkadeh was a fighter, and sometimes that's nothing more than the choreography of being born, everything the ancestors ever dreamed of. And those ancestors, they never stopped dreaming. And Ki Anatoi Imitax. Story's over. The dogs have separated. Thank you all so much.
We have more gifts for you.
Oh, yes. Wine glasses for the Obama.
Getting our close tonight. For sure. Taylor. And I do have bubble wrapping for them later, but these are just a little something from us. Thank you so much for your time this week. We also have a go bag for seed.
Cute.
So SEED, for you all that don't know, is the Center for Educational Equity and Diversity at Western Washington University. And we're kind of sister partners. And so we're sending them all the books that are here. But also before we leave today, we'd like to see all these go out the door with you, please.
Everybody's a winner.
I do not want to put them away. I want to send them home with you. It's been an amazing 10 years, and we're just so happy to have you back again and continue this work together. Of course, there'll be another CCRP Spring Professional Development Series next year, and we're going to be looking at Latinx literature next year. To all my LeGrand School District folks that read my newsletter every month, thank you. I just want to give everybody a heads up that we have our 50th anniversary powwow here at Eastern Oregon University on May 16th and 17th. Right. So normally you start with a land acknowledgement at the beginning, but I wanted to start with stop at the end with it today. So we humbly acknowledge the first peoples of this land at Eastern Oregon University is upon, the Cayuse, Umatilla, Wawa, and Nez Perce people. We celebrate their traditions, languages, and stories. We acknowledge their continuing connection to this land, water, and community, and pay our respects to these original stewards of Northeastern Oregon. We recognize that land acknowledgements are not a substitute for actions in support of social justice initiatives, but rather a lifelong process toward learning more about the powerful heritage of the people, both living and past, whose land is being occupied in Oregon, and bearing witness to the truth of past, present, and future impacts of white settler colonialism. With knowledge, we can face our state's history, embracing the discomfort and humility that often accompanies acknowledging historical truths, renew our commitment to developing educators who can help all students appreciate their roots and traditions. It is our collective responsibility to critically interrogate the past and current systems and to honor, protect, and sustain Indigenous people and their land. So with that, I challenge you to continue the work ahead. And do join us for powwow. That should be part of your goals. You have your PDUs. I do not have Shannon's beautiful writing, so I hope that I should have hired you to do all the certificates. Your writing's impeccable. We look forward to you joining us in the future. I do want to say one thing. Our guests have to be in Pendleton. We hope to get them there by 3-ish. Because they need to get to Pendleton Woolen Mills. So we are going to respect their time today, but I will give you their contact information if you want to stay in contact. We have a team picture I'd like to take before we go. And Have a wonderful day. We have tons of leftover food if you need food, Sean. I'm looking at you. Taylor, looking at you. And thank you again for your time and your day.
Thank you.